To qualify as a person who's a victim of human trafficking, there's certain conditions that have to be met. Now, here you don't actually have a human trafficking law that defines human trafficking under Singaporean law, but in general we have a sense in international law what elements are required to meet the burden of human trafficking. So if we look to those elements, you can establish whether someone is or isn't a victim of human trafficking, but that requires some investigation and conversation with them. So when I say it's difficult to identify, it's not as easy as just looking at someone and saying, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. And you have to do some investigation, you have to speak to the person, you have to corroborate their story, and ultimately ascertain whether the elements of the crime of human trafficking are met on a case-by-case basis. I mean, you could have 20 individuals at a construction site, none might be trafficked, some might be trafficked, all might be trafficked. You won't know until you do the right investigation. In some of the earlier days of NGOs working on this issue, they were very keen to go in and intervene and try to liberate people and disrupt what's going on. And they very often did much more harm than good because they may not get everybody, and whoever's left behind is severely punished. Or they may get people out, and if they're not protecting those people's family members, those family members might get punished. Or the traffickers may say, okay, now we're just going to go deeper underground where you can't find us. So it's actually usually a bad idea to just try to go in like a cowboy and rescue people and respond to exploitation in that way. It requires very careful investigation by trained police and trained investigators in conjunction with people who are experts in this subject to advise on how to go about things very carefully so you don't do any more harm than is already being done. I don't think we know how actually large or small the scope of trafficking for various forms of labor or forced prostitution is here in Singapore because no one's really done some detailed research on that. Now, I've met individuals who'd been trafficked here across the years and described in pretty convincing detail what's happened to them. And while I've been here in Singapore, I've done a little bit of research, and I think clearly there's some trafficking going on in various sectors, but exactly how large the problem is and how extensive is it, I think we need definitely to do some more extensive research to figure that out. It takes time, and awareness of this issue may have come a little bit later to one country versus another, and that's okay. But as long as that once that awareness comes, something's done to look into it, that's the main thing. And I think now that the awareness is coming here to Singapore, there are things being done. NGOs are working on the issue, the government's working on the issue, so things are being done, and hopefully, step by step, Singapore will ultimately deploy a very effective response, I'm sure. If I can raise some awareness and spread some knowledge, that's probably the main thing I would hope to accomplish, and if I can motivate a couple of people who maybe didn't know about this issue to really care and maybe try to do something in their communities or support other organizations in some way, then my mission is accomplished if that's what's been done. The main thing is to try to get people to understand what's happening and hopefully then put their energies in some way, big or small, into combating this issue. There's many ways to take action, and there's many ways to show courage. So I would say anyone who's focused on this issue should find the way that they feel they can contribute, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. Any fight for human rights is an expression of courage, and it's an expression of your values and your sense of justice. And it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it. If you do something and you keep at it, try to really keep at it so it's not just a one-time thing, then I think you're showing great courage and a great sensibility to the world around you and hopefully making it a better place.